Welcome to the Words to Empower podcast, featuring Bishop Frank Stewart, pastor of the Acts Ministry in Conway and North Little Rock. And now, Pastor Stewart.
Welcome back to the Acts Ministry broadcast. We're in the book of Micah, and it's amazing how powerful the Word of God is. Every verse, every word. God is an awesome person. He's an incredible person. He is the most fascinating person in the universe by far. We were in Micah and we was looking at chapter 6, and we looked at verse 1 and 2 where God called his people into court, if you will. And he used the mountains, he used the hills, and he used the foundations of the earth as a jury. And he says, I got a complaint against my people. And this is what he says in verse 3. This is his complaint. O my people, what have I done to you? And how have I wearied you? So God asked them, what have I done? Now, he's asking them what he's done because they have forsaken him, they have left him. And it is easy to say you haven't done anything. That is easy for a person to say. What God is dealing with is a level of loyalty. There should be loyalty here. Even if Israel had thought that God had done something to them, and we know he didn't, but all of the years, the decades, the millenniums and centuries of faithfulness, that should have counted for something. So here is the heart of God. God is wide open. God is leaving this for all of us to see. And I almost said he wants us to see how human he is, but that would be wrong to say that Jesus became flesh and Jesus was human. And we know that we would see him often crying on the mountain until they thought he was the prophet Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, because they can be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. So we see all of this that is going on with God. And he asked them, now he says in verse 3, what have I done to you? Then he says to them, testify against me. God says, okay, here I am. You tell me what I have done to you. You tell me how I've wronged you. And now he says, now you tell me how I've wronged you because you've wronged me. Now he's getting to a point of fairness. See, this is relationship. In a relationship, you know, what sometimes people think they do to you is all right, but what you do to them is wrong, even though it's the same thing. God is into relationship. And he's saying to Israel, now, let me see what I've done to you. Now, he's got a long list of what they've did to him, but they're saying he's not fair. They're saying God is not fair. God is not just. God is undeserving. So he just asked the question. Now he puts them on the witness stand, and God says to them, all right, now you testify. You tell me what I have done to you. Now, he says in verse 4, watch this. For I brought you up from the land of Egypt. I redeemed you from the house of bondage, and I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. You see that? Now here's history. Now that's why history is so important. So important. Because if you don't understand history, you'll never understand loyalty. You'll never understand loyalty. And the reason why many people do not understand loyalty because they have no concept of history. They don't understand that. So when you look at Micah chapter 6, it's so much that God is saying to us, and it's so much he's showing us because all he ever wanted was relationship. A relationship. But brothers and sisters, even as I talk to you now, there are many of us that we have no concept of what fairness is. You know, what I do to you, if you do the same thing to me, it's wrong. But if I do it, it's all right. This country is based on, when you look at double standards between a man and double standards between a woman, it is based on that. What you do in a relationship, even though I do the same thing, is looked at differently. You know what I'm talking about. A man does it, he's a player, he's a real man. A woman does it, she's a whore. You know, so when we look at that, God is saying, now I want you to just show me what I did wrong. Wow. Now that blows me away, because it's as if God says, now you show me what I did wrong, then I'll fix it. I'll fix it because I want you back. Wow. Wow. Can you imagine that? And that's that agape love. That is when the Bible talks about St. John 3:16, God so loved the world. So loved the world. That this kind of love is not even from the earth. This love is from heaven only. You can only receive this love by having God inside of you. You don't get this love. This is not a human love. This is not some love you're born with. This is not some love that you worked on, and all of a sudden you got this incredible love. No. This love can only come from God above. And if you don't have God, you can't have this kind of love. So he began to tell him, he said, I brought you out of Egypt. I brought you out of the house of bondage. Then he said, I sent, just to make sure you would get out, I sent Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. He says in verse 5, O my people, remember. See, that's important. That's important. That's important to sit down and just think. But for many of us, just like for Israel, they were so self-centered that everything revolved around them. Everything was about them. There was no fairness here. There was no equality here. They wanted God to be everything to them while they would be nothing to him. They were involved in an unjust relationship. And this relationship they was in, they thought it was all right to them. It's all right if I do you like that, but you better not do me like that. So the relationship they're in. And brothers and sisters, when I tell you the truth, when I look at Calvary and I look at everything that Jesus did for us, we're all in a relationship with the Lord, and it's unfair because of everything that he's done for us. If we did everything we possibly could do, it still wouldn't measure up. And he doesn't ask much of us. He didn't ask us to go and die for the sins of the world. He didn't ask us to do all of that. He just asked us to be faithful to him, to love him. See, when people say they love the Lord, it's easy to say, I love the Lord. But he said they draw nigh to me with their lips, their hearts far from me. You see that? And that's what he's dealing with here. Their mouths say one thing, but their actions say something else. Until your mouth and your actions line up, what your mouth is saying means absolutely nothing.
Stay tuned for more of Frank Stewart. And now for some special announcements.
Thanks for partnering with the Acts Ministries. We value your service and your donations. That's why we've made it easy to make contributions to support our ministry. Simply go to your web browser and click the search bar and type in actsministriesonline.org. Then click Donate Online. It's really that easy. For mobile giving, text the amount you wish to donate to 501-302-4242. That's Simple Give.
And now, more of Pastor Frank Stewart.
These are the cold hard facts about relationship. What do you bring to the table? Are you all the way in? Are you halfway in? You know, what do we expect in relationship? God is talking fairness. He's talking equality. He's talking about those things that make a relationship a relationship. Then he just asked him to remember. He remember now what Balak, king of Moab, consulted? Do you remember Balak, king of Moab, consulted, and what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him? He began to go back in their history and begin to show them all the different things that had happened to them and how he had been there from day one. Now he's just showing them. He's showing them that his faithfulness. Wow, that's incredible. Do we want to compare our faithfulness to God to God's faithfulness to us? I don't think so. And that's why we have that very unique word that we call grace. 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 So God says to them, now let me just take a walk down memory lane and let me see what I have done to you. And he goes through that and he talks about that. In verse 6, he began to tell them what is needed of them. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? Then he says in verse 8, he has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. That's pretty powerful. God says, I'm not asking you to sacrifice your only child. I'm not asking you to take your children and sacrifice them. He wouldn't let Abraham sacrifice his son Isaac. But God did sacrifice his son. But he would not allow Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. So God says now, they're trying to figure out how do we please God? How do we please him? Do we bring all these sacrifices and we kill all these animals? Will he be pleased with all the blood of sacrifice of animals? And then they said, will he be pleased with 10,000 rivers of oil? Can we bring God oil, olive oil, which was very precious then as it is now? But they said we bring God all oil and we bring him 10,000 rivers of oil. Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, our sin? Do I need to kill my children? See, God never wanted that. He said it never even came to his mind that to ask for that. But we see God's people offering their children, their firstborn, to idols. God said that never came to his mind to even ask for that. And he says, I've shown you, old man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? Do justly. Treat people right. Treat them right in business. Don't rob people. Don't steal from them. Have fair measurement, fair weight, fair balances. Then he says to love mercy. Not just the mercy you receive, but love mercy. Love giving mercy to other people. Be fair with other people. Treat them as you would want them to treat you. And then the last thing he says was, and to walk humbly with your God. God said, I just want you to have some humility. I just want you to do the right thing. We can sum this up by simply saying, God says, I want you to do the right thing. I'm not asking for your children to be sacrificed. No. I don't want that. It never came to my mind. God says, I just want you to do right. And what is right? Right is the laws of God. Right, what is right are the commandments of God, the word of God. He says, just do the word. Do the word and humble yourself. And God says, that's all I want. That's all I'm asking from you. Isn't that amazing? Wow. We all are involved in a relationship that is really unfair, because when we do our very best, it can never measure up to what God gives us. Stay tuned as we continue to walk through the Word of God, as we enjoy hearing what God is saying to us. God bless you.
For mobile giving, text the amount you wish to donate to 501-302-4242.
The Acts Church in North Little Rock is located at 1224 Franklin Street. For more information, go to actsministriesonline.org or give us a call at 501-329-2055.
Thank you for tuning in to the Acts Ministry Podcast. The Acts Church is located at 1423 England Street in Conway and 1224 Franklin Street in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Tune in each day to hear an inspiring word from Pastor Frank Stewart.